You don't perform or act in any differently than if you were playing a live-action character on a screen. Obviously, if you're playing an ape, then you have to do a certain amount of research into the behaviour of apes, how they move, how they behave, how they communicate. But of course, these aren't just apes, any apes. These are apes that are anthropomorphized. They are evolved apes. They have all been transformed by this drug that is changing them and making them evolve rapidly. Then the question becomes, what is the character? Who is the character of Bad Ape, or Cesar, or Maurice, or Rocket, or any of the characters? This is where the human aspect of bringing these characters to life is so important. It's always comes from the human emotion. After all, the metaphor that we're using of apes is only to reflect the human condition and to be able to look at ourselves in a much deeper and through a different prism. Damn right, I really do. I do. I think it's total prejudice and ignorance, because people are refusing to understand what the technology is. It is a technology. It's no different in terms of the acting process, to playing any other character. I've said this for years and years and years. And unfortunately, the perception is changing. Young directors, young filmmakers, young actors, they all know the deal. They all know what performance capture is. It's unfortunately the older members of all of the acting bodies, branches, all of the awarding bodies, BAFTA, Golden Globes, Academy, the older members, without being ageist, the older members are refusing to even understand what it is, and all they have to do is watch some behind-the-scenes footage, and they will clearly understand that this is not about getting into a suit and providing reference for later on where the character is going to be created. The acting happens as in any other creation of a character, on screen with the other actors and the director on set. If I played Cesar with prosthetic makeup and a furry ape suit, people would go, "Oh yeah, that's acting." Oh, you can see that's a performance, But if I'm wearing a motion capture suit and that digital makeup is put on my face afterwards, they kind of go. Always, when he first started to utter human words, and I don't know if you remember Rise, but in the first movie, the first word that he says is no. And that comes from it comes from an injection of emotion, which is through the mind and physiognomy of an ape. It's it needs to have that believability of being urgent and come from a very strong emotional anger at the way that the other apes are being treated by the handler. In the second film, we had to find a way of making believable apes talking believable, and that was a big challenge. Because going from all those beautiful scenes where you're seeing a lot of signing and the silence between the apes communicating such a lot, to then introduce speech was always going to be a big challenge. So it was like, how do we make Cesar start to use human language believably? And the process of that was by again, it was a sense of urgency, but they're not constructed sentences like we would construct as human beings. They are put together. It's like Cesar searching for words, searching for ways of putting together and constructing a sentence. And again, so I wore a mouth guard in my mouth to make it less easy for him to form the words as well. It was the birth of a language. So this is when he was speaking originally, he would speak like this. He would say, "I do not want more." So there was a very slow, deliberate attempt at forming speech. And in this movie, obviously Cesar speaks a lot more, and we had to find a way of articulating Cesar linguistically that was going to be a quicker, otherwise it would be an incredibly long movie. And so, for instance, the scene at the beginning of the movie, in this he sounds more like he's able to put thoughts together in a much more efficient way, but also emotionally, his emotional intelligence as well is much more evolved into a human state almost. So at the beginning he would say, "I did not start this war. so you can just hear there's a difference between those two in terms of the articulation. Well, the truth of the matter is that the main theme of this movie, and in fact all of the Apes movies, really are about empathy and the peril of a situation, if we live in a world as human beings where we lose the ability to be empathic towards another culture, another society, a different people, a different species, the planet. What happens if we lose that ability to really put ourselves in the position of the other people, the other kind, the other culture? And that is the beauty of this metaphor, is that, and why it's been a privilege to be part of this franchise, because you can operate on a global stage to a wide audience of people in the guise of great entertainment, and yet say something that is incredibly important, meaningful, emotional, and hopefully will connect with an audience in a profound way. And to have that balance is why I think these films have had such a long reign. Now it's 50 years. Why they keep coming back and why they are becoming classic stories, because to have allegories that can really speak to the human condition is what we need at the moment in the world. Storytelling is really one of the ways that we can save ourselves.